Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Happy Monday. God, sorry. Sorry about this. I just decided on this Monday morning, I really wasn't into taking a shower or putting makeup on. It was just, it's a beautiful day. I sat outside for a little while, had a coffee out there. Kids are off to school. All of that is great. And I thought, you know what? Let me shop for fabric. I'm doing something secret with fabric that I will tell you about and show you. But I need a bunch of fabric, and I need to choose what I would like. Do you ever do the thing where you spend a lot of time on a website searching, and you put tons of stuff in your cart, and then you think, oh no, this was way too much. What am I doing? And you cull it. You spend a lot of time and heartbreak culling the cart, so you only have the basic things that you need, and then you log into your account or create an account, and your cart goes away, and it can't come back. It goes away, and all of those great decisions and that perfect symphony of a cart with all the right colors and all the right choices and the right combos and the right amounts, gone forever. That happened like 5 minutes ago. So I had a choice between jumping in the shower or trying to reconstruct my cart, and I chose cart. Oh, I hate it when that happens. It should not be allowed. It should not be allowed because it's a kind of time waster that is just, it's criminal. Anyway, maybe it was meant to be. Maybe my new cart will be better. I've got to at least say that to myself, right? Linda, great to see you. Happy Monday on this beautiful sunny autumn day. Over here in Connecticut, the sun, let me see if I can show you. The sun is blasting through the window there with my new wreath. And it is like, um, the yard is absolutely filled with leaves. We put up maybe about 100 pumpkins down at the bottom of the yard for the cars to see. They're strung. My husband did that. I didn't do that. And he's got some hanging up out here. That is men's work. And so I delegate, where the laundry line goes, and how high to go up on the ladder to, string it. Uh, yes, delegation of duties, right? The honey-do list includes about 200 pumpkins. So that's, it is what it is. And I'm sure the neighbors appreciate the amount of pumpkins that are being strung in the yard right now. I hope they do. And I have been told this is a great Halloween town. We want to make the right impression, and we want to bombard them with pumpkins if that's possible. And there's more. So I think the chipmunks are upset though because the pumpkins were being stored under the deck, and it's all like stone under there. And I bet they had some great hiding spaces. And now that the hundreds of pumpkins are being removed from under the deck and placed, uh, I bet the chippies are feeling a bit exposed. So so cute. It's so cute out there. It's like a whole world of cuteness. I love to sit on the deck and hear the dit, 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 dit. And I don't know if it's a bird or if it's a chipmunk, but it is like one is over here. It's answering this one over here. There's rustling, and I think, oh, is it a bear? But it's like a fox. I saw a beautiful fox this morning. Really nice, beautiful autumn days. I'm loving this part of life. Ruth, great to see you. You are there for a bit. Oh, wait a minute. Let me close in that mantle and get that witch behind me. There she is, the new witch. Um, oh, you're there for a little while. It's a biblical study day in sisterhood. That sounds fantastic. We meet every Monday at 11:30 to support each other as women. Sometimes we have a Bible study. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. That's very similar in spirit to what I do on Fridays. I posted something in my Facebook group today about a woman who's 80 who just sits at the edge of, I don't know what city this is or town, sits at the edge of this parking lot and knits. And it's like, it's how she copes. She wants to take a walk. She wants to be out. She wants to be out of the house. She doesn't really have anywhere to go. She doesn't have a destination. So she was walking to the edge of the grocery store parking lot, and she thought, well, I don't really need to go in. I don't really need anything. I just wanted something to do. So she kind of got in the habit of sitting on the edge knitting, and other people started to join her, just pull in. One girl, it started, I guess, with one girl who pulled in, and she just lost her job, and she pulled in this crappy car crying, and she just didn't know what she was going to do. And and then this old woman just handed her the yarn and said, do you want to learn how to knit? And so now she's got this group of people who meet there. I think it's once a week, who just come, and they're called like the edge of the it's called the edge of the parking lot or the edge of the lot or something like that. And they're just there. They're just there keeping each other company, not having to say anything, just being somewhere and being together and showing up. And that's it, isn't it? It's just showing up. So that's really nice, Ruth. It's great to be able to do that wherever you are, whether it's at the church or the library or the edge of a parking lot. It doesn't really matter. It matters, that you're there and you find other people and you meet other people in person, because we do too much of this online stuff. I had to laugh the other day because the websites that are like the good old days, and I always think, when was that? Like, when was that? I listen to like family stories and I read a lot of history and I think, when was that? It's not now either, but so I always look at those sites and it's always like, don't you remember those days when those kids, when we were kids and we were always out in the yard and we were taking walks and we were watching the sunset and we were playing in the trees and climbing the trees, and now all these kids do, or they're in the computer, on their computers or inside their rooms. And I always think, like, God, that's kind of ironic, because right now my kids are not in their rooms on the computer. Maybe they're on their phones, but they're probably outside hunting Pokemon. But you who are writing this are right now doom scrolling on your computer and coming up with these crazy memes about how the kids don't do anything. You're the ones who are writing them, reading them, liking them, commenting and agreeing that the kids don't do anything useful today. All they do is use the computer. And you're on the computer. It is so hypocritical to me. I always have to laugh at those memes. I used to like those pages because sometimes it was like nostalgic photographs and stuff. But the sentiment is always so negative about that. It can't just be like, oh, I remember the old days. Do you remember this too? It's got to be like, I remember the old days, and isn't it crappy now? And aren't the new generations crappy too? I hate it. I just hate it. So many good people out there, so many good things to do, right? And all right, okay. Uh, Case the name made you wonder. Okay. And Cheryl, great to see you at 73. That is really nice. It was 86 here yesterday. I realized that after I knew I was sweating my somethings off, but I didn't realize it was quite that hot. Teddy got a little sunburn on his chest at the Renaissance Fair. 73 sounds great, and I think it's a little bit cooler here too, but it spiked again. Unexpected, miserable and unexpected. Sunny leaves are falling, and honey mushrooms are growing. I'm going to have to look up a honey mushroom. I do not know what those look like. I actually made a bunch of mushrooms for myself for breakfast in a frying pan, the whole container. This is the problem with me. It's portions, right? It's not eating mushrooms, it's eating the whole container of mushrooms. And I think they were bad. So let's see what happens. I thought they might be bad because they felt a bit slimy, but me being the garbage disposal and not being able to throw away good food, ate the whole container. Let's see what happens. Hopefully I make it through the show. Kirsten, great to see you. Happy Monday to you too in Vermont. I bet it is beautiful. Oh, you're in drought again. Okay, it was slamming rain here, so I think we're good for now, but still drought. Oh no. Linda says, howdy, Kirsten. Michelle, oh, great to see you. I saw a beautiful picture of you on Instagram. I still have not figured out Instagram. I know how to post something. I think when I give something a heart that the person can see it, but I still struggle. I can see messages. I can't tell if sometimes messages are just for me or if I'm being tagged. I don't find it as easy as I find Facebook, I gotta say. But a beautiful picture of you turned up on my feed and I thought, oh, look at her. Um, Heidi, Huda, Ava. Good hello and good afternoon from Belgium. What a beautiful story. I know, I know. I put it on my regular Facebook page. It was long, and I don't normally read like long stuff on Facebook, but it was about knitting, and I could tell it was going to be cute. It was written in the voice of the woman, maybe by the woman. But it is nice to think of people, because there are so many misfits in this world who are, people who are so great but just a bit lonely, haven't figured out where they fit in, of all ages, right? I think Jocelyn is one of those people at this moment, of all ages. And it's so nice to create spaces where you can just hang out no matter whether you have anything in common or not, because it just, being with someone is a form of acceptance. And nowadays people, I think, are feeling especially lonely, and on the periphery, on the twilight of life, watching it. I think also as we age, we also get a sense of, I don't do that anymore. I know my mom does this a lot. I don't do that anymore. I don't like to go to restaurants and eat by myself. And I say, well, you're missing out on a lot of good food, right? Because I love to go to a restaurant. Oh my, do I love to be by myself, right? But I know I'm at a different point in my life with the kids and everything. The thought of being at a restaurant by myself and having my sketchbook out without having to clean up spills, to make conversation, to flag down the waitress for refills, is an amazing thought. But for her, it's like, makes her feel like a loser or something. Everything changes. Everything changes. We have to be flexible and look around at other people and make sure that they're all good. Particularly as we head into winter. Dave, great to see you. Glad that you're there too. It's a beautiful day in Toronto. You've got your coffee. I've got my fruity tooty drink. It's the shake that my husband makes in the morning. Sometimes I wonder if he's making it with fruit that has also expired. We're the family of buying too much food and then eating bad food and then having all kinds of problems. He does it too, but he has like a cast iron stomach. Ruth says my grandparents won't allow them to be on their phones or computers. It's a different generation, right? I love it when my kids are doing that stuff, because they find hobbies. Like Joss would not be into mask making if she hadn't found this whole community of people who do it too. And now this is like the center of her life. And we made that eel tail yesterday. But if she wasn't in those groups and didn't have the idea, like, oh, maybe I'll do this, maybe I'll do that, we wouldn't even know about this, and we wouldn't be building our lives around it and loving it. I personally love the computer. I love being on the computer too. Not so much for work, but this is great. But I don't like to do work stuff on the computer. But I do love to search for stuff, because I find stuff I didn't know I was looking for. And I am able to shop for stuff I didn't know I needed, which is also really fun. Sharon, great to see you. Just getting ready for work. Oh, Monday morning. Um, I just want to make sure I caught everybody. Carol, great to see you. Good morning from Northford. It was warm yesterday. It was scary warm. In fact, I looked forward. I never look at the forecast, because I'm like, you get what you get. You don't get upset. What can you do? But you know what you can do is, like, wear very lightweight clothing, or stay at home and be blown around by fans, because it was awful being outside yesterday. I had on a super, super lightweight linen dress. I mean, basically, I could not have worn anything less. Although there were people at the Renaissance Fair who were wearing less, if you know what I mean. At those fairs, it seems like an opportunity to have very little on. And I guess that New England prude in me is like, wow, that's a lot. That's a lot to see. But I mean, I was completely covered up with this handkerchief of a dress, and it was still miserably hot, miserably. I don't know how Teddy was doing it with his shorts and his button-up shirt. And I mean, my husband had jeans on, but he doesn't feel pain, right? He's got like he doesn't have that. He just bombs through life with like heavy jeans, and it's like 90 degrees, and he just doesn't feel it. It's a gift. I shouldn't make fun of it. It's a gift. It's a superpower. Being uncomfortable is a superpower for him. So I like Facebook and groups like ours for that reason too. Oh, I got awful news this morning from Doormail, because I fired out that email yesterday and said this particular person is horribly unhappy with the bleached linen, and I still have at least one, if not two, bolts of the bleached linen, um, because again, I like it the most, and I want to use it forever. But guess what? They said that nobody is buying the bleached linen. I'm one of the only wholesalers, if not the only wholesaler, who buys the bleach? Because the bleach is more expensive. Like the white is more expensive. And so they're going to discontinue it. And I thought, damn it, now I've got to figure out where to get it because I still want it. I still want the light one. I don't want to go back to using a dark linen. I need way more lighting when I'm working on dark linen. I like the light linen. So I'm going to have to see what my choices are. It's not like they were making it. I mean, they were never making it, right? So they're getting it from somewhere, but it's a question of can I figure out where they were getting it because I want to stick with light. We'll have to see how that goes. One of a new frustration, right? So that's frustrating. And now that woman is going to go, oh, well, no wonder they're discontinuing it. It's so crappy. It's the worst backing material I've ever seen in the 18 years I've been rug hooking. That's going to be like validating for her. But for me, it's rather disappointing because it was my favorite. And I thought we were in a good groove with it. If anybody knows someone who is selling or wholesaling white or bleach or at least very, very, very light linen, I really want white. And I'm happy to pay more for white because I want the white. And I want to be able to keep doing painted backings. And I'm not doing those on brown. It would look stupid on brown, you know. We'll figure it out. But if you know anything, let me know. All right, so let's come back because we started our conversation last night. Sorry, gross. There's none left, apparently. On this catalog that I found that was published in 1974, wasn't it? From the Folk Art Museum in New York City. And yep, and it seems to have been, it doesn't say by, but it seems to have been compiled exclusively by Joel and Kate Kopp, K-O-P-P, names we know from past episodes. And they did a beautiful job pulling together some of the earliest hooked rugs and attributing as much information as was known in 1974 on these specific rugs. Rita, good to see you. Good to see you. And we were kind of going through them. We had a few surprises last night. We were looking at rugs that were not attributed to the Hutchinsons, but I think at the end of the day they were very, very similar. And I would say are Hutchinson rugs, but not attributed. Right? Even the known Hutchinsons in this catalog were not attributed yet. So interesting. We had a few surprises as we went through, and I'm not choosing the rugs that we've looked at before or that are really well-known rugs. I'm not choosing those. I'm choosing ones that are different that can give us kind of openers, conversation starters to say, oh, have you ever thought of doing that? Or are you aware of another rug that has this little device going on? Or isn't this curious the way this person did this? What do you think, you know? So those are the kind of rugs we're looking at, and we got through quite a few of them, but not all. So let me see. We ended on this rug. We did 2 horse rugs in a row. Gail was on in Australia, and she comes from a family of, what was it called? Harness racing, right? And she was able to give us some great insight on the horses that we were looking at. And we have more horses in this episode. There's quite a few horses, right, in rug hooking, partly because I'm just going to walk over here and get my lip chap, partly because it was a familiar subject. It was an easy subject. You know, if you're living in a rural community and you have horses around you, well, there you go. If you've got a set of dishes and they've got horses printed or transferred on them, well, there you go. There's your subject. So very familiar subject. Spoke to the fact of, you know, just as writers write what they know, artists tend to make or use what they know, and rug hookers too. So lots of rugs with horses, and we saw a couple last night. They were both very, very different. I think there's going to be more. In fact, hold on one second. I think there's more. See, this was a little guy, the first little guy. We did the elongated one that started the horse conversation. And then we went to this guy, which is an extraordinary one. That was the one we ended on last night. And there's one that I think I skipped. Let me see. Yeah, I think I skipped this one. I'll show you here. It says 1880. So it's easy to place the year on that one. So that's a good early rug. And that's a great stance, too. That's got a great example of hit or miss, both behind the horse and in the border. Oh, no, Yale is calling. Oh, I'll have to call them later. I've been waiting, honestly, 2 weeks ago, Monday, 2 weeks ago today, I called them for some doctor's appointments. They were supposed to call me back the same day. 2 weeks later. I'll call them later. It's fine. My head's not hanging on by a thread as far as I know. So, great examples of hit or miss in the background. And this one is dated. So let's see, let's just see for the sake of curiosity um, what is known about this specific rug. Another great horse. The thing about these horse rugs, right, what makes them great, I think, particularly the old ones, is the naive quality of the drawing, the heaviness of the body, sometimes the unlikeliness of the body, right? This is a fairly um, true and literal silhouette for a horse. But some of the horses we see, like one of the ones last night, had a crazy silhouette, like physically impossible. So maybe like from maybe a Dr. Doolittle, right? Maybe one of Dr. Doolittle's horses, but not a real life horse. So let's see what is known about that one. That says horse. The name of the rug is horse. Hooked rag on burlap, 36 by 53, dated 1880. So this is the this is the level of detail we get in this catalog. There's so much of the research we rely upon now was not done yet. So, and you might be saying to yourself, that looks like a Magdalena Bryan or EB. It does color wise, or it's primitive. It's also primitive, but it's not like it in any other way. But if you were thinking that, I get what you mean. Just because of the shape of the horse, it's a little bit off. It's a little bit clunky. Um, this one's actually, I think, more refined than Magdalena's horses, but same kind of color palette, right? Cutting up used clothes and using the same kind of color palette. We've got more horses in here, but I want to stay with the program as it is. This is an unusual one too. This is a Dutch subject. So I like this because, of course, I was born in the Netherlands and I lived over there for much of my grown-up life, and I had both of the babies over there. So I'm at the point now where I've recovered from the shock of living there for so many years and being so triggered, and I'm starting to fall in love with it again in terms of it's so beautiful and it's got a lot of nostalgia for me. It's a beautiful country. If you can avoid the people, sorry, just kidding. I mean, I'm one of them, right? I'm from there. I am actually from there. Very lovely country and lovely countryside. Super, super flat. This piece is called Farm Scene with Windmill. Now, it might be the Netherlands, it might not be the Netherlands, but the person in it seems to have like a Dutch style bonnet on. Um, it's a very small windmill. It looks like it's in the water, but I mean, I suppose it could be. It's very flat, which supports Dutch. It does have the white fence, which doesn't support Dutch scene. But the building in the forefront, again, does support like a Dutch scene. It looks like a sluice or something like you on a canal, like the little houses on the canals that operate the, um, not the dike, what is it called? Where you put, not the dam, they have a word for when the water, not the polder, what is it? When the water goes up and down, you can control the water going up and down. Anyway, it could be an international scene, and that would pose different questions because rug hooking in the Netherlands do not go together, right? That is not a thing. And this is said to be a hooked rag on burlap, so not sewn, 18 by 30, fourth quarter of the 19th century, lent by a private collector. So it's interesting. I mean, it honestly does look very Dutch. The buildings do look quite Dutch. A lock. Thank you, Rita. Thank you. A lock. Exactly. And the little houses on the canals and polders and all of that do have these little lock houses. And there's a lock keeper, right? And it says it right on it, lock keeper. Um, and you see them all over the place because most of the Netherlands is water. And the barn is not so Dutch. Okay, no, you're right. The barn in the back is not so Dutch. It is more like an American barn. So maybe this is a domestic scene with just an international looking little pseudo lock house out front. On brick, too. The on brick is weird because I was thinking, is the water in the windmill? Since we don't have a color cue for this, is the water in the windmill? I'm sorry, is the windmill in the water? And I was thinking that doesn't make sense. Why is it in the water? But I see that the little house is raised up on brick, so I'm thinking it is in the water, isn't it? Curious scene, and so it makes me think, where is this scene? Um, the character has some kind of a bonnet on, which can refer to like Penn Dutch or Amish culture. Um, it's not an Amish bonnet, right? The color is wrong for that. Actually, I don't know. Do all Amish people wear black bonnets or do they sometimes wear white ones? I know there's all kinds of sects, SECT, that, that are like Amish and Mennonite culture. I know there's lots more. And they do have co- costumes, they do have sort of representative clothing. Um, I don't want to say like a uniform, but you know what I mean. They wear the same clothes. So it does make me think, where the heck is this place? This can't be a commercial pattern because again, it's not that good. What's making this pattern not that good? I think for me, um, the main thing is the composition. I mean, it's quaint and it's folky. Could the house be a mill? The house could be a mill. The house could definitely be a mill. It's right there on the river with the mill. Um, there's something funny. I mean, it is, it's very quaint and naive, but in a good way, right? That's the very definition of folk art. It's got a house right in front of us, and it's like, okay, boom, there we go. And then it's got the second building behind, and that is really good perspective. You can see that it's raised up a little bit on the land and smaller because it's farther away. And you do see the rather large fence coming through, which does create a great boundary for your eye. So we're limited to the space in front of the fence, and we've got the windmill kind of almost smack in the middle, and it's very dark, and it really comes at you. And when I see something like that, it strikes me like industrial scene. Like it is a pastoral, but industrial scene. And so it's like, boom, propeller for me. I kind of wish that the windmill was in a different place because the sweet sort of human story of a character with a small animal, possibly a farm animal, hard to tell. There's like a little white squiggle, and then the cow is a cute part of the story. And the fact of the composition, like the person being really close to the animals and everything else being off to the side, makes me think this is an actual place and this is how these buildings looked and this is somebody who lived on or near this property. That all makes sense. So that says to me this can't be a commercial pattern. If it was, it would probably be spaced out differently. But it is super quaint, very charming. And it does make me wonder, um, where is this? Like, where could this be? Interesting. I always want to know a little bit more. And this book has an especially small amount of contextualizing. The amount of text for each image is little to none at all. So it leaves us guessing with stuff like that. But sometimes between us, we can. Carol says that hat looks Amish. Okay, and that would make sense. And then we could say, ooh, are we talking about Pennsylvania? Are we talking about New York State? Oh, that is a road, not water. It could be. It could be a road, not water. That is a road. I mean, without the color cue, you know, it's hard to tell. It could be water because that windmill base could be like a cement base. Um, Unusual, but not unheard of. Interesting. And I wonder if this is a mill. I wonder what we're talking about, like what kind of a mill we're talking about. It is a neat piece, and the composition of this piece reminds me of, I'm going to show you the cover image here, reminds me of the cover image. See how flat it is, right? And we understand compositionally, right? We talk about this a lot, but we understand with primitive folk art compositions, when you're looking at it, this low part is the closest part to you, and as it gets higher, that's further away. So whether there was a sky or not, you just know instinctively that up here is further, right? And down here is closer. Our eye understands that. We don't need any help with that. This picture has that same kind of thing going on. The proportions are not exactly right. The perspective is not right, but we understand how it works, and we can picture this piece of land. We can picture this little corner of the world. Carol says, Ohio Amish use more print and color. Interesting. Now, wouldn't it be great to know what color the garment was? It could be black, but it also could be like dark green or dark purple. Probably not, but you never know. It is a lovely piece. It is a charming piece. If I saw this at a store, I would be looking at condition. I would be really curious about it because even in this picture, we can see the directional hooking in this piece is strong. The hooking in the grass goes straight across. The hooking on that little path, right, along the either bank or it's a walking path on grass if that continues to be land. But that swirling path, that's directionally hooked. The building itself is directionally hooked. You can see those rows. Even the building, even the roof on the outbuilding, the barn, directionally hooked, the building and the roof. So there's some really pro hooking going on here for an early piece. Judy says, in my area, the Amish often wear deep blue. That's another interesting angle because this could well be deep blue. Curious, right? And the windmill itself, the base of the windmill. So this person was capable of and experimented with directional hooking just straight across fills like a typewriter, dot, 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 next route, dot, 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 but also doing directional hooking that swept in the same line as the form, like the winding road, right? That goes directionally too. So this person, a lot of these early rugs that we see, whether they're yarn or wool, we see the typewriter. We see someone going across, changing, going across again, changing, coming back over, return, back across. We see that a lot. Even when it doesn't make practical sense to do that, we see that. But this rug doesn't have that. This rug has that strong directional feel. And because parts of it, like the small road, the lane, that's got to be a textured fabric that really pulls our eye along as it snakes through. It's textured, it's got busyness, and you can tell the flow of the hooking. You can tell the way the direction flows, especially because it's textured. It's an interesting piece, and it does make me wish that I knew its provenance, where it came from. This piece belonged to Joel and Kate Kopp. Which doesn't mean anything because they collected, right? And they collected all over the place. And they bought from other people who had collected before them. So that doesn't really help. But the fact of it being in their collection, was it in their collection or was it? I'm trying to remember. Sorry, I'm just going to move to the next one. Trying to remember. Let me just get it straight before we move on because I never want to leave us with bad information. Ooh, something stuck. Chorus. Pages are sticking together. That's so strange. Wonder if I touched something sticky. No, that was lent by a private collector. That was not the cups. The cups with a K. Now, here's another interesting one. And to remember the house that we looked at last night, how wacky let's look at that one real quick first. So let's hold on this one. Let's remember number 39. Let's come over here and see if we can find the house. No, okay, wait a minute. I feel like we're right in there. Sorry. Oh, fooling around here. Nope. Yes. Remember this one from last night? Oh, Catherine, good to see you. Good coffee time morning. Oh, is it National Coffee Day? What? Oh, man. Well, you know what? I'm going to have to go get a fancy coffee then to celebrate. I'm going to celebrate with a fancy coffee. Thank you so much for telling me. Oh, that's so fun. I wish I did something for National Coffee Day. Dang it. Maybe I'll try to whip up a pattern or something like that. These old rugs are fascinating. Wouldn't we love to peek in on the people who made these? Oh, God, right? I know it. As they make their color decisions, knowing they had less to choose from, but they also were often really proficient natural dyers, and they understood how to do that. It would be so interesting. I bet that people just longed for specific colors. I know I do in modern times. It's like, oh, I've got the pumpkin color, but if it were just a little more squash color than pumpkin color, I do this in my head, and I think way back then when they couldn't just go on Etsy, right, and order something or dye something with chemicals and get exactly the color, they must have had like such longing for like, oh, I wish I had a color that was more cranberry than red or more tomato than maroon. Would have been a great thing. It's funny that you say that because I had a dream last night that was so neat. I'm going to turn it into a Halloween design. When we were coming home from the Renaissance Fair yesterday, I drove by this. It was in Columbia, Connecticut, which is like, I don't even know where that is. Far from me here, very country. And I drove by this graveyard that said old yard, and I could tell from the street that the stones. Let me see if I can show you. The stones were super old, super super. They were 18th century stones. Some of them early 18th century stones, and it looked like this. Probably won't come into focus anytime soon. But oh, there we go. But I'll tell you, every single stone. It was a big graveyard. That was just a corner. It was probably 20 times bigger than that. Every single stone in there was insanely old, like 1710s, 1720s. I didn't see a lot of 1800s. Saw a few people dying in the 1800s, but not a lot. And as I walked around, I just did it quick. I didn't want to torture the kids because it was hot, and they stayed in the car. But I noticed, because I like to notice from one graveyard to the next, the style of the stone cutter, because it was typically like a family who cut the stones and passed on the same design, mostly for the face with the wings, from one family member to the son, to the next, to the next. And then when that family died out, often there was another person who would come to town and fill the job as like the mason, the stone cutter, and that person would have to create their own like design for the headstones, and they would think they were doing the same one. I think everybody probably thought they were doing the same one. I don't know if you can see these, but they're not the same. Like this one is like the hair is crazy, the hair is sticking straight up, and the eyes are like whoa, like it's completely different. But there's like 100 that look exactly like this, and there's like 100 that look like the other one, and then there was a third face that was another wacky face. Oh, this is it. This one he's smiling, but sometimes he's going. But this one he's smiling, and this is like a pear-shaped or like a light bulb-shaped face. Anyway, I couldn't believe how many beautiful stones were there, and I needed a lot more time. Um, they were just exceptional, and a lot of the Revolutionary War stakes in there. So I mean, there was a ton of these. I'm always happy to see those because those are worth a lot of money. And I don't like to think that people take them out of the ground to sell them on eBay. I'm sure it happens, but I don't like to think about that. So it's nice to see so many of them in one place. The sign for it was like this, and you had to kind of shimmy between two stones because the gate didn't actually open. So cool. So it was established in 1725. This graveyard. It was so cool. But I had a dream that because I was walking through it, and then I had it kind of in the back of my head. Got to show you this one. Look at this crazy one. Let me see if I can get it in focus. Really different. Isn't that wacky? I mean, it's almost like is this a reference to a human face, or is this like the sun, or a god face? And you can see down at the bottom some of the symbols, right? The heart, kind of clovers. Um, there's symbols all over this stone. This was a really big stone too, really strange. But so I got home, and I guess I had it in my head. I was thinking, oh, I wish I had more time at the cemetery, and it was like over an hour away. And I thought, well, I'll go back soon and walk around and check out the stones some more because they were so interesting. And I had a dream that I was back in the cemetery, and and I wasn't scared. This is going to sound crazy, but everybody rose up from the stone, and they were standing at their stones, like their dresses were almost like the stone, and they were talking to each other, like nothing was wrong, like they knew each other, and they had different kinds of clothing on because they died at slightly different times, and they obviously were different ages, different heights, men and women, and they were all standing up, like they rose up, and they were all just talking to each other, and all of a sudden there was all of this noise, and I thought, oh my God, how did I get so lucky that I was a part of this? But I wasn't scared. And it was a weird dream. And I woke up and I thought, oh, I would love to do a design like that. I wonder if I could communicate that. Couldn't communicate the noise, like of all these voices talking at once, because it sounded like a crowd, but also kind of musical. And I thought, oh, that would be such a cool design if you could show people who had risen up and appeared as they were in life, dressed as they would be, conversing and being not being dead and scary but being happy and whatever. I thought that if I can figure out how to communicate that, it could be a really cool rug. um, Sage says, I'm sorry, Ruth says, I interview for a design job for headstones, lol, didn't pursue it further, but interesting. That is interesting. There's such a huge, as you know, there's such a huge history of design, and it is so interesting. It is not morbid at all. It is so beautiful, so interesting, where you can get inspiration from. Headstones are nothing I ever thought of, but it could work. They can work. Some of them are so beautiful, and sometimes the text is really charming as well. Anyway, you do wish in a million ways every day that you could hear voices from the past, and have them walk us through their thoughts, because we have something in common, right? And in relation to our rugs, it would be, this is why I love talking to other hookers anytime, right? But it would be interesting to be able to talk to somebody from a completely different generation, who would, such a different generation, they wouldn't be alive. It would be impossible for them to be alive anymore. Um, it would be so cool to be able to do that. But in the meantime, we can guess. We can make educated guesses. We talked about this one last night, and my feeling was, design wise, that this person ran out of space, and they really sort of cropped or cramped the second floor of the house, because they were like, uh-oh, forgot about the second house. Then I still have the roof to do. Oh no. So this has that sort of naive quality. It's a straight up, this is my house with a hit or miss border. And the one that we were just looking at, okay, that was one of the ones that we thought was Hutchinson, I think. And let me see. Nope. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Spoiler alerts left and right. Can't remember what number we were on. Oh, I am the worst. I'm showing you the whole. Close your eyes for a second. No, maybe we didn't look at that one yet. No, I guess we didn't look at that one yet. Oh, come on. Close your eyes. Okay. Boy, it's got to be the last one I choose, doesn't it? So, another example of a rug that is just a, here's my house rug with a hit or miss border. But it has a very different feel, doesn't it? And why does this one have a different feel? I'm going to leave that hanging for a second while you look and think. Because it is a, here's my house, right? Crowded into the center. I made it big, and now I don't really have room for lots of trees and stuff, but I still want to put a border on it, because everybody puts a border on their rugs, right? This one does not have a geometric border, and the other one had a very geometric border. Otherwise, this is a really similar composition. It's a hit or miss border that is much more fluid, just using colors until they run out. And here's my house in the middle, right? And it's really well done, too. It's really well done. Another gorgeous house. Let's see what this one says as far as, and remember, with this catalog, and maybe you have this catalog, the text is all over the place. This is called, oh, guess what? Guess what? We have a clue for this one. This is called House with Blue Windows. Hooked rag on burlap. This is the first color reference we've had. Remember last night we had horse with wooden eye, and today we have house with blue windows. Hooked rag on burlap, 35.5 by 58.5, third quarter of the 19th century, and this was lent by Joel and Kate Kopp, so they owned this one. This one is just incredible. And now we know that the windows are blue. So it looks like a white house with blue windows. Doesn't help us with the colors in the background. I would guess that they're like greens and browns and black. I would love to see the colors of this in person. I'm gonna Google Lens this one just in case. Let me Google Lens it real fast, because Joel and Kate Kopp collected so much for so long, and they wrote much later, and it's entirely possible that they didn't work on the first try. Let me try one more time. Try something else. It's entirely possible that they photographed it in color and printed it somewhere else, like in another book. And that is what we would be looking for. Okay, let me see. Try this, and then I will give up. No. Showing me lots of wood prints of houses and illustrations of houses, but bummer. Because I bet you somewhere that's in color. And it's nice to have the reference to the shutters, but I'd like to see a little bit more. Isn't it gorgeous? And doesn't it just remind you, as soon as you create a border, and there's also some hit or miss behind the house, Oh, hey, Sharon. I have to go back and watch from beginning. Oh, you have to go back? Yes. Oh, it'll be there for you, though. Something for later on. Catherine told us National Coffee Day. So, as soon as you put a border on something, if you don't have something in mind, like let's do some geometrics, let's do a checkerboard, let's do lamb's tongues. If you don't have something in mind and you just think, let's marble it up, right? Let's go full blast rag bag marbling. I'm just going to do it and see how it comes out. I wonder if it's going to work. Well, if your motif is a giant house in the center of the composition, I can promise you it is going to work. It is going to work because the motif is strong enough to hold its own. It doesn't matter how busy the background is. This is a white house. It's got dark behind it. This person had the sense to put dark color behind the house. It can hold its own, and it will. So you don't need to worry about that, think that, overthink that. You can just blast the color. And what a cool vibe. In black and white, it really gives you the feel of a landscape. In real life, you might lose that if the colors are not landscape colors, right? But it is an interesting thought that you might be able to do something like this, blast the hit or miss background for both the ground and the sky, right? You could do it that way. This is clearly a log cabin border, right? The way that it's drawn, but you could blast it. And why shouldn't you, right? Love this. Oh, I so love this. All right, let's see. I don't know. What have we got for time? Just see how many we've got. Oh, we've got way too many to do. So, all right. So let's keep going. Let me find this one in my book. Here it is. So another unusual one. This is essentially another house composition. There's some more stuff going on that we can guess and speculate on. So this one has a year too, 1891. Let me see what the book says about this one as I search for it. What was that? 65. Hang on. Let's see what we can know. Mariner's rug. Hooked rag on burlap, 24 and a half by 37 and a half, dated 1892. Well, we could have written that. This was also lent by Joel and Kate Kopp. So we didn't learn anything that we didn't already know. So Mariner's rug. Okay. We're seeing a house, which I guess is the Mariners' homestead, right? This is their whatever house that they built, family house, whatever, the dwelling of the Mariners' family. Um, Anchors in the corner, that makes sense. Stars to guide you, right? Like stars in the sky to guide you while you're out at sea, that makes sense. And horseshoes for luck, that makes sense. This is an interesting rug for the opposite reason. This is a house rug, but the border really is made up of all those symbols, and they are symbols that would make sense to someone who takes to the seas, right? You hope that you're lucky. You hope that fate is kind, that your ship doesn't get crushed by a whale or a hurricane or whatever. And there's lots of symbols that would help the sailor. The anchors, right, for going into port, the horseshoes for luck, and the stars to guide. So it makes a lot of sense symbolically. The symbols in the border are not relegated to a border. They are not separated from the composition. They are part of the picture of the house. So somehow, by not putting them into a separate border, somehow when we look at it, they have a closer relationship to the house. They refer to this house. They aren't just symbols, one for good luck, one to guide you, right? They actually refer to this house and the person who lives in this house. It's funny how without a separate border, those symbols become an immediate and direct part of the conversation. I wish him luck. I wish him safe travels. I hope the stars are there to guide him. I hope he comes home safe, right? And it all makes more sense when the composition isn't cut up. They're all part of the same story. And the house is quite small in comparison to the symbolic message around the border. And that's interesting too, because it is a pretty tricky house. It's a house that's has an L, right? That has an L that's as big as the house itself. And the designer decided to put an anchor right on the house as well. That's curious. It's a very simple house. It makes you wonder. I mean, I'm picturing a house just a perfect L. You know, you see them occasionally. Not very common style anymore, right? People don't just keep adding on to houses anymore, but they did then. And putting the anchor right on the center of the house is like a stamp. It's like marking it, right? Interesting, because the house is not the main story. The main story is the symbolism just based on the size of the symbols. The symbols are very consistent, right? They are really symmetrical. It's a very design driven rug. And the house is almost not an afterthought, but it fades into the background. It fades into the background to the extent that there's an anchor in front of it, right? That's how much the designer wanted the house to fade into the background. Either that or there was an issue with hooking the L part, right? Could have been because when you see houses that are an L that are like at a right angle, there is a line in there, but it might be that they tried to make it like show both parts of the house and there was a line straight down the middle and it might have looked weird. And it might be that the person said, this doesn't look like the house, this looks weird, and thought, oh God, what am I going to do to fix this and put another anchor in? That's entirely possible too. In fact, I think that's likely. But nonetheless, the house is just one of the motifs of the story. It's one big story. And somehow, even though these are just symbols and there isn't a single person in this picture, somehow it does have a very intimate feel. Like you get a strong sense of what this sailor's life is, right? Filled with danger, hoping to be lucky, part of nature, out there under the stars. You get a real sense of sort of biography of this person, and we don't even see the person. We just see the house in the distance. So there's a lot to be said for using symbolism in your rugs. And I think for most people, if you were to toy with the idea of making a rug like this with this heavy of a border made up of symbols, you'd probably talk yourself out of it. You'd probably first just make the border and say these things are going in the border and then think, oh, that's a big border. What am I going to do now? But I know I probably would never think of putting symbols on a rug without breaking them into the border, right? Like separating them that way. This is a really novel idea. This is a really cool design idea, and I like the house this size. We're seeing it we're a little bit removed, right? We're not part of the family. We're not right there. We're a little bit removed, but we can see in, and we do know the whole story here. So interesting, because we're hoping this person has been lucky at sea. There's nothing to tell us that there's been a disaster or that the house is in mourning. It's just continued good luck and lots of it. It's a beautiful piece. It really is a beautiful rug. It's not a complicated rug. I'm sure it doesn't speak to everybody, but for what it is, for a 19th century rug, an early hooked rug, the person who designed this really understood what they meant, and you have to what they meant to relay. And you have to remember that during the Victorian period, symbols were super important. There still is a huge part of the population that does not read, and symbols are super important. And they've been in the habit since the beginning of time. Victorian people, and this is late Victorian, of course, but because we switched to Edwardian in like 1911, but we're still in the Victorian period. People wore all kinds of symbolism around, necklaces and jewelry, charm bracelets, right? That's when charm bracelets came about. You would cross stitch and needle stitch, all kinds of symbolism around your house, into your motifs, into your needlework, rugs, textile design, decorative trays. Everything was filled with symbols, and people knew what the symbols meant. Now, we know what these symbols mean still because they're major symbols, and they still mean the same thing. Was not that long ago. But all the same, to them, even then, symbols would be more familiar. We've kind of gotten away of using tons of symbols because we don't need to use symbols in place of language anymore. But then they kind of did. So it really marks it as an early rug and an unusual rug. Here's another really unusual rug. So let's see. Let me get the note for this first. Hang on, number 28. All right. Let me find 28. Nope. Almost. All right. Cat. Okay, Cat in Cloud. This was lent by a private collector. Hooked rug on burlap. hooked rag. I'm sorry, hooked rag on burlap, 35 by 35, fourth quarter of the 19th century. So that's what we've got again. Now, this is a curious one because um, did they say, wait a minute, did they say it was a dog or a cat? Hold on. Cat. Okay. You know, it does, it has, it's like the pig faced cat, isn't it? It's like, I'm, it's a small figure and I'm seeing two dots for the snout. There's little animal confusion here. I feel like it could be a dog, could be like a corgi, but it could be a cat. It might be a pig. Yeah, it's a little bit hard to tell. It's a bit of a clunky figure, but it is beautiful. And referring to this cameo shape as a cloud, I think is really sweet too. You know, I'm guessing it was probably, if this shape was traced, they could have done it with scissors, but they also could have traced like a piece of lace, like a lace doily or something like that. That would also make this shape. It doesn't look completely symmetrical, so and that might be the hooking, but that also might be tracing something that was this shape. Occasionally, plates had scalloped edges on it. That's not impossible, but probably a textile is more likely, or just a cut piece of paper. Not everybody, you know, was creative. Most people did not have the time to learn to be creative or practice. Um, Sometimes people would make stencils and things, and it didn't even occur to them to fold the thing in half so that it would be exactly the same on both sides. It could be that too, just cutting it out with scissors, not into halves, or with something like this, you could even do it in quarters, right? Or even in eighths if you want to get really crazy. It's an interesting design because obviously what this person wanted to show was the cat. And here's the beloved cat, right? This is a cat that was loved, cat that probably was living its best life, um, a cat that the woman who made this rug loved and wanted to remember and wanted to pay tribute to, wanted to honor, whether the cat was already gone or still a family pet. Doesn't matter. This is a cat who was loved. And so she's got a big piece of burlap, and then she's got the idea for drawing a cat, and cats are little, right? Cats are little. So she draws a little cat, and then it's like, okay, now what? Now what should I make? And what she wants is a rug of a cat, right? And she's got it down, and she's happy with. She's probably sketched it. Maybe she's even hooked it, and then it becomes, what should I do now? And so she comes up with the idea of doing this scalloped design around the cat, which is a great idea because she could have just boxed the cat in. The second border is the box, but first she makes the scallop design, and that's tricky. She seems like someone who knows her textiles. Do you know? Are you thinking what I'm thinking? She's got the cat inside the scalloped cloud, and then she boxes that in because that is a very irregular and unstable shape, right? Even though it looks like a flower or a scallop shape, or you know, a circle, right? A modified circle, a decorative circle. It still is an odd shape, and it's an unstable shape. So she knows that instinctively. She's obviously not an artist, but she knows that instinctively, and she boxes it in with a square. Now she's really onto something. And I really think that she's using textile inspirations here because her next great idea is, why don't I put hexagons? I would bet you anything. If we could visit this woman, I bet that she was a quilter who did like the English piecing, the hexie quilts, like the paper piecing with the hexes. Very popular at that time. Perfect way to use scraps, right? Because it was a known quilt design that always worked out, like subway tiles. It's always going to work out. It's always going to match up. You only need one shape. You don't work in blocks, and you can hand piece it as you go along and take your time. And you don't need big pieces of fabric, so you just take tiny scraps. If you already have a bunch of tiny scraps, then you're in perfect shape to make a hexie quilt, right? So many people were doing it at this time. I think she got the idea to put hexagons in the border because she was probably also a quilter. Maybe it's honeycomb, maybe it is, but people weren't really using honeycomb design then. Honeycomb would be, when we hook honeycomb designs, they're super enlarged, right? People weren't really thinking of celebrating bees at that time. And I mean, obviously they loved their honey and they loved the work that they did, but now we're kind of bee conscious because, like, you know, save the bees and all that stuff. Back then, this is much more likely a reference to the hexagon quilts than it is a reference to a beehive. But it could go either way. I certainly don't know. I think it's a really unusual piece, and it does make me think that she had both a hexagon quilt in the pipeline or made or on the, in her mind for the next big project. And I think she had a doily, and I think that's how she pulled this off. And I think her companion was a great inspiration. It turned out to be a beautiful piece, but it is heavily supported by these ornate borders. Otherwise, there's nothing to it, right? So interesting how you can, with one tiny design, what what um, what sort of portion of this rug is the cat, the motif? It's like nothing, is it? It's like 1/20th of the rug is the cat. The rest of it is these great ideas for how to do borders to keep it going. Let's keep it going. I still have some material, but how? What to do now? Well, she figured it out in the end. Interesting, isn't it? I love looking at these old rugs and speculating for this reason, because while we will never know, we can make some pretty good assumptions, because we also hook rugs and we know what we think when you hit a wall or something's going on and you think, oh, great, now what am I going to do to come out of this? You usually do figure it out. Sometimes you don't, but you usually do figure it out. And I think people since the beginning of rug hooking have had the same weird quandaries and crossroads where you are just stuck. You worked yourself into a bad situation. You hooked yourself into it, and you don't know what to do next. And the more confident we are, the better we are at problem solving. And back then too, right? Now that part hasn't changed. So I'm going to stop now because I have so much to do today, and I'm still so tired. So tired. So I'm going to keep going. I'm not sure what the rest of my week looks like, because I really would like to finish up this conversation before Friday. I don't like it when I do two Friday things that are the same in a row. Let's see. Tomorrow is Jocelyn's birthday. She is turning 12. Oh my God. So it looks like I'm busy with a couple things on Saturday. It looks like we're having a sleepover on Friday. So I should be okay to do a Friday show. I'll have to put a Friday show into place. I'm also on Wednesday, I'm doing my Tigger thing, my Frost and Frost Tigger thing. So I've got to get prepped for that too. Okay, it's going to be another busy week. So I won't be able to come on Wednesday because I'm on, if you're a Tigger member, maybe you're logging on to be with me at noon to run that Frost and Frost. Um, Thank you, Linda. So excited. She can't pick a place that she wants to eat. We want to take her out to dinner tomorrow. We're going to do a bunch of other stuff on the weekend, but we want to take her out to dinner. And since she doesn't really eat food, she eats Taki chips. She eats popcorn. Um, she can't think of a restaurant she wants to go to because you take her to a restaurant, you buy her food, you put it down in front of her face, and she doesn't want it. It's really aggravating. That's just where we are right now. She'll eat bread, like she'll eat plain bread, if you give her a French bread, like a 3 foot long French, she will eat the whole thing. She'll make the whole thing disappear. So maybe I need to find some place that has bread or something. I was thinking go real high class, doing like Olive Garden or something like that, but I don't think she likes their bread. All right, but it looks like I'm going to be tied up on Wednesday, so let me see how the week goes. It's not impossible that I would pop on like Thursday p.m. or something like that. To finish this episode because we have a few more slides and I don't want to squander them. Let's see what I can squeeze in between now and Friday. And in the meantime, Magpie Times, help me out with your ideas for Magpie Times. Hey, who's going to do the feature for this issue of Magpie, the winter issue? Who's going to do the feature on a real life store, like a brick and mortar store? I'd like a store that does a nice like holiday display that's decorated for the holidays. Do you know at any kind of craft store, specifically a fiber store, I mean, that has great inspiration that reliably decorates well for Christmas early, and you could take some pictures, or you already have some pictures? I would love something like that. Because we always like to do the brick and mortar store feature, and I haven't had anybody say yet that they're going to do that. Who's going to do a knitting feature? I really would like a knitting feature with mittens, or a tea cozy, or like a coffee cozy, like a cup, like a mug cozy, something like that, something simple. Um, yeah, I'd like some more features. So be thinking about that. And another thing I forgot to tell you. So Sharon isn't going to be able to make it to the Halloween party because she's busy with moving and stuff too. She's moving house right now too. So that makes me sad. But she won't be there. But she put together, going through her stuff, she put together a bunch of bundles that are like color-coded bundles of recycled material, like wool and material that's clothing that's been washed and bundled up into themes, like color themes, and tied up with pretty yarn. And she said, there's 12 of them, I think. She said, I want to give these to people who would want to use them to work on a piece for the laundry line hooking book, where you're only using clothing to hook. It might not get you through the whole piece, but at least it would get you started with color planning. So I said, I would love to have those 12 to give out to the first 12 people, who want them and want to say, like, I commit, right? I'm not gonna hold you to it. I'm not gonna hunt you down like a dog, but and I hope nobody is hunting dogs, but I'm hoping that there will be 12 people who come to the Halloween party and say, oh, I'd really like to have one of those bundles. I think I will do a piece. And unless, Henny Penny, the sky falls in, I'll have a piece to you, this year, early next year, whatever, but I'm working on it. I'd love to have 12 people to say that. So if you're coming to the Halloween party, you're going to be able to see Shannon's bundles. And if you want to jump in and grab one of those bundles, that would be amazing. Oh, Michelle, maybe on the knitting. Oh, that sounds good. From fleece to tea cozy. That would be fantastic. No pressure, but that would be fantastic. All right, lots to think about, and there'll be lots to talk about next time I see you. And at the moment, it looks like Friday, but I do think I will be able to squeeze something in between. But I will let you know on both Facebook and YouTube if I can see a window there for us. Otherwise, I will see you Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I don't know what I'm doing yet, but if I find the Rug Cooking Magazine, the newest one, it will be that. If not, maybe it'll be a trivia night or some kind of a game night, something like that. In the meantime, Magpie Times. Reach me at ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com